Policy Institute. Paolo von Schirach joins me now from Washington, D.C. to talk a little bit more about the election. And let me start with the issue of these, battleground or swing states, as we call them. They're getting most of the candidates' attention right now. The Electoral College, we know, really forces candidates to invest so much more time in them. Start with that. Is that actually democratic at this point?
Well, look, the way it looks, if we can trust the polls, Biden's primary job, is to regain the states that were lost without anybody really having anticipated this from the Democratic camp into the Trump camp back in 2016. The critical states that gave Trump the victory in 2016 were Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. The total margin of victory was less than 80,000 votes total. That's in 2016. But that's the bad news. There was miscalculation, and the election was lost for Mrs. Clinton. Right now, if we fast forward to where we are today in the polls, Biden is way ahead in all the three states, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, with a comfortable margin. Again, nothing is done until it's done, but that doesn't seem to be the issue anymore. That is, Mr. Biden seems to have regained traditionally Democratic states, and he seems to be making significant inroads in traditional Republican territory. That would include North Carolina, Arizona, Georgia, Florida, which can go either way, and even Texas. This is what the polls indicate today. At the national level, Mr. Biden's margin is about 8%. At this time in the 2016 campaign, Hillary Clinton's margin was 4% and declining.
Right. But I mean, we are looking at polling data, and I mean, polls really used to be taken seriously. But I mean, since 2016, so many people are now questioning their worth. Do you feel you can trust the pollsters going into this vote?
Well, look, everybody is still scarred by the experience of 2016, where most people, including very, very experienced pollsters, got it wrong. They miscalculated the hidden Trump vote. That is, the people who would vote for Trump but wouldn't say it. But now the dynamics are somewhat different. Again, I'm not suggesting that everything is totally accurate. What is different now, for the Democrats, at least between 2016 and 2020? Mrs. Clinton had incredibly strong unfavorables. In fact, she had stronger unfavorables than Trump. And the undecided at the time, those who perhaps disliked both candidates, broke for Trump at the end. And that gave him the victory, the White House. Mr. Biden enjoys significant high numbers of favorables. He's above 50%. The undecided are an extremely low number now compared to 2016. And in fact, 50 million people plus have already voted at this time. So does this mean it's a done deal? No, nothing is done until it's done. We do not know for sure if indeed there is a reservoir of Trump votes that have not been counted. Many people who just don't want to say whom they're going to vote for. Right. And that could be the surprise of 2020.
Let me ask you this quickly, because in just a minute we're going to have a report on the senior demographic that's voting and usually comes out in force in U.S. elections. We saw this in the 2016 election, as well as, for example, in the Brexit referendum, I'm sure you're familiar with, a few years ago, whereby in the end, seniors were said to have been able to decide the future for a much younger population. Do you see that as the case, really, in the United States and in the 2020 election going forward, when you have a state like Florida that's so crucial and a huge population of senior voters that can actually end up deciding for the entire country?
Well, yes, absolutely. Older people in America, where voting is, people, you can decide to vote or not to vote. On average, older people tend to vote in larger numbers as a percentage of that demographic than younger people. That is absolutely true. In 2016, most seniors went for Trump. This year is very different because of COVID. COVID has devastated, in particular, senior communities, and the Biden campaign has been harping on the issue, based, that's their assessment, that the Trump administration has been extremely incompetent in dealing with coronavirus. And this has, peeled away a significant number of seniors from the Republican camp. The majority is probably still with them, but not in the high percentages that it was in 2016. But the overall, assessment is correct. Seniors vote in larger numbers than young people in America.
Okay, Paolo von Schirach, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.